Hi guys, apa kabar? A few of you have asked me to do a video in English, so today I'm going to do one. I'm going to help you know 5 signs of a bad used motorcycle. Sign number 1 of a bad used motorcycle. A bad used motorcycle always has a dishonest owner. Because if the owner was honest with you about all of the problems with this motorcycle, everything that's happened in its past, the fact that it's been in a flood, crashed 4 times, engines had to be rebuilt 3 times, lots and lots of burnouts, all these things, if he was honest with you or she was honest with you, you would never buy it. So the very first sign of a bad used motorcycle is a dishonest owner. Number 2, and we'll use my motorcycle as an example for numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5. A bad motorcycle is almost always poorly maintained. So, when you're going to buy a used motorcycle, how do you know if it's been poorly maintained? Let me give you a couple of things to look at. First, take a look at the chain. The chain should be oiled. See, there's oil there. And it shouldn't have any rust on it. It's okay if the sprocket has a little rust, but the chain should not have any rust on it. If the chain is dry, or rusted, or both, either the chain has damaged the sprockets, or the sprockets are so worn out that the chain has been damaged by the sprockets. Either way, you're going to have to replace the chain, the front sprocket, and the back sprocket. Now, it's okay. If you want to replace it, that's no problem. But you should negotiate the price knowing that you're going to immediately have to go to the motorcycle shop and replace the chain, the front and rear sprockets. Secondly, you never want to see a really, really loose chain. That's just a sign that things are not good with the motorcycle and that it's not being maintained well. Next, let's take a look at the tires. As you can see from my tire here, I leaned the bike over a little bit, but not all the way to the sidewall. So you can tell this bike hasn't been driven very aggressively. Second, you can see that these wear indicators, this is a new tire, relatively new tire. You can see that it's been ridden some, but these wear indicators show that the bike has never been leaned this far over. Especially if you're buying a sport bike, super bike, if the bike has been leaned over all the way and ridden really aggressively, it doesn't mean it's a bad motorcycle. But if the bike has been taken to Sepang circuit and ridden within an inch of its life, you need to make sure that it was maintained well. Ask who your mechanic was. Make sure that the bike was maintained well the entire time it was being ridden aggressively. To finish up the maintenance section, you also want to take a look at the front forks. Look for any signs of leaking. As you can see, there's no oil coming out of the seals here. No oil leaking out of the bottom here. Everything is clean, and that's because these forks have been recently rebuilt. Now, if the motorcycle has leaky front forks, it doesn't mean it's a bad motorcycle, but it does mean that it's not safe to drive. Braking and cornering will be affected by bad seals. So, you need to know, before you look at a motorcycle, how much will it cost to have the front forks rebuilt, and you need to negotiate that in the buying price, because if you buy an EX5 with broken seals on the front, you should immediately go to the motorcycle shop and have those seals replaced. Now for number 3, you need to look for signs that the bike has been wrecked. A wrecked bike is a ruined bike. Now, most motorcycles at some point in their life, probably multiple times, have been dropped. And that's not what I'm talking about. So you need to know how to distinguish between a wrecked bike and a dropped bike. So my bike is a perfect example. It's been dropped once by me, once by someone else. So I'll show you the signs of a dropped bike here. Take a look at this bar end here. You can see it's been scuffed here. That's a telltale sign of a drop. Secondly, here There's a little bit of paint, so you know it's been scuffed. Coming around to the box, look at this. You can see some scrapes here. Now, if this bike has been wrecked, it would have scrapes horizontally along this plastic. A dropped bike will either have small little scuffs or vertical scuffs. So if the owner tells you that the bike has been dropped, but you see big horizontal scrapes on the gas tank, on the foot pegs, the exhaust, or the box, you know he's lying to you. That bike has been wrecked, not dropped. Finally, let's take a look over here. As you can see, the clutch lever is broken. That's another sign, along with this bar end here, that the bike has been dropped. And so a dropped bike is not necessarily a bad bike, but a wrecked bike is a bad bike. So if you look and you see, the owner might say, well, hey, look, aftermarket foot pegs, aftermarket levers, aftermarket mirrors. Ask to see the original ones. Usually, if people just want to upgrade their rear sets, their foot pegs, levers, they keep the original ones. If they don't have the original ones, it's a sign that the bike has been wrecked. And I would recommend just walking away. If they don't have the original mirrors, the original levers, and the original foot pegs, just walk away. There's a really good chance that the bike has been wrecked. And if there's any damage to the frame, the bike will never be the same. It will never be a good bike for you, and it will be almost impossible to sell unless you turn around and lie to someone else in order to sell it.